me at Patreon.com/Crimson60620 PS4 Gaming, and you can also follow me at Facebook Crimson60620 PS4 Gaming. Thanks for your support and enjoy the video. What's up, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook? Yeah, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. What's up? It's Crimson60620, and I am here. I'm back. As you guys know, if this is not only your first time watching the show, but it is one of the many times you've watched the show, I've retired the half-ass show. That is okay. And I retired it basically because I got tired of fucking coming up with points and shit. Creative names and all this other good shit. It was fun while it lasted, and quite frankly, guys, I just wanted to talk shit, you know? And if this is your first time viewing my show, I usually come in and have some sort of commentary. Wow. I usually have some kind of commentary. I have something where I talk about, different things that's on my mind or different points that I've seen. And quite frankly, guys, it has been a long time. And I'm going to actually tell you why. And it's like really, really bad. Because, basically Conan was broken. That is the reason why it's taking me so long to actually start doing commentaries. Because Conan is broken. I didn't really feel like doing my backup game, and I was fucking playing Horizon Zero Dawn that has enough political commentary in it of itself. And it's actually funny. Where's my remote? Fuck it. Hold on. Verse. There we go. Turn that shit down. But no. The thing about it is, it has enough political commentary in it. It's just like, if motherfuckers don't realize, like, some of the shit that they talk and some of the side quests, it's just like, really? The reactionaries actually played this game and they got, it was okay to them? Oh, yeah, okay, whatever. So, let's fucking talk. The first thing I'm going to do, because of the nature of this fucking video, because of the title, you've already seen it, I'm going to say this. First, absolutely first, I am no means in any way fucking possible minimizing poor mental health. God, no. Mental health is something where it goes invisible for the most part. And just because somebody can't see that you may have what I like to express as a broken mental leg doesn't mean that it's still not there. You can't see mental wounds. You can't see mental scars. You can't see mental fucking injuries. So if you need help, fucking get help. And it is not a critique or something bad that you may need help to talk to a professional and not just rely on somebody who's not been trained to fucking help. That all being said, I think there are some cogent points in going over this video we're about to review. So please strap on in, sit on up, and let's just address this fucking video. while we're waiting for this fucking world to come in. So, what are we going over? We're doing a TED Talk. Now, if you've actually seen my shows before, doing a half-ass show or doing some other shows, when talked about Rucker Brackman, when I'm talking about other different things, I've done TED Talks before. And quite frankly, this gives you a peer on like the wide social stuff that I look at when I'm doing. You can see game line. Oh yeah, my phone. You can see my phone. But we're gonna actually be going over this, and guys, bear with me, and I'm gonna, of course, make sure that we can talk about this in a cohesion way. So let's continue.
For a really long time, I had two mysteries that were hanging over me. I didn't understand them, and to be honest, I was quite afraid to look into them. The first mystery was, I'm 40 years old, and all throughout my lifetime, year after year, serious depression and anxiety have risen in the United States, in Britain, and across the Western world. And I wanted to understand why. Why is this happening to us? Why is it that with each year that passes, more and more of us are finding it harder to get through the day? And I wanted to understand this because of a more personal mystery. When I was a teenager, I remember going to my doctor and explaining that I had this feeling like pain was leaking out of me. I couldn't control it. I didn't understand why it was happening. I felt quite ashamed of it. And my doctor told me a story that I now realize was well-intentioned, but quite oversimplified.
All right, so this is actually key. This is something where is if he's 40, he's around my age. And I remember some of the things that they were actually trying to push just around my age and push around some of the just some of the times that, I was kind of in my teens and things of that nature. He's probably a couple of years older than me. I don't know when this video was actually put out, so he may even be even older than that. But it's actually says something where shit, I could probably do that. It actually says something where, at least it wasn't a stigma that, he could go to somewhere and get some help, which is actually also awesome. Fucking awesome. But that being said, the response from his doctor, and I've watched this video, so I know partially what's going on. Well, not partially. I know exactly what's going on in this video, and the response from his doctor is kind of telling. But let's continue.
Not totally wrong. My doctor said, well, we know why people get like this. Some people just naturally get a chemical imbalance in their heads. You're clearly one of them. All we need to do is give you some drugs. It'll get your chemical balance back to normal. So I started taking a drug called Paxil or Seroxat. It's the same thing with different names in different countries. And I felt much better. I got a real boost. But not very long afterwards, this feeling of pain started to come back. So I was given higher and higher doses until for 13 years I was taking the maximum possible dose that you're legally allowed to take. And for a lot of those 13 years, and pretty much all the time by the end, I was still in a lot of pain. And I started asking myself, well, what's going on here? Because you're doing everything you're told to do by the story that's dominating the culture. Why do you still feel like this? So to get to the bottom of these two mysteries, for a book that I've written, I ended up going on a big journey all over the world. I traveled over 40,000 miles. I wanted to sit with the leading experts in the world about what causes depression and anxiety, and crucially, what solves them, and people who've come through depression and anxiety and out the other side in all sorts of ways.
So this is actually key. You actually hear what he says. It's like he's been dealing with it, for a while, and like. So here's my biggest problem. it's becoming more and more of a problem. Depression, anxiety is becoming more and more of a problem. It's becoming something that's affecting more and more of the developed world. And he said it. He's went all over the world and he's actually seen this shit. And it's just like, wow, like really this is what's happening now. And so you also hear about his struggles of what he had with the same things. So let's see how we can actually get it and what can actually be said. So let's continue.
And I learned a huge amount from the amazing people I got to know along the way. But I think at the heart of what I learned is, so far, we have scientific evidence for 9 different causes of depression and anxiety. 2 of them are indeed in our biology. Your genes can make you more sensitive to these problems, though they don't write your destiny. And there are real brain changes that can happen when you become depressed that can make it harder to get out. But most of the factors that have been proven to cause depression and anxiety are not in our biology. They're factors in the way we live. And once you...
So this is just fucking awesome right here. So there have been an increase in the cases of depression and anxiety, and you'd be hard pressed to hear of where it isn't becoming, I wouldn't say a norm, but it is becoming where a lot of people are battling these things. A lot of people are just being hit with this detriment that, yeah, it's becoming a fucking problem. It's becoming an issue where, and sorry guys if you hear what's end up happening is somebody is, my neighbors, they are actually their kids. Fuck it. Their kids are just fucking loud as hell. Anyway. There we go. Alright, so, yeah. So, and it's the way we live our society. It's one of those things that, because of the way our society is fucking with us. It's truly fucking with us. And let's just hear some of the explanation. And this is a video I was just watching, and some shit just like hit me. So let's continue.
You understand them, it opens up a very different set of solutions that should be offered to people alongside the option of chemical antidepressants. For example, if you're lonely, you're more likely to become depressed. If when you go to work, you don't have any control over your job, you've just got to do what you're told, you're more likely to become depressed. If you very rarely get out into the natural world, you're more likely to become depressed. And one thing unites a lot of the causes of depression and anxiety that I learned about. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
So let's just look at that shit. Let's just look at some of the things that he has clearly outlined and what is the cause of a lot of that shit. Now, far be it from me to be the one that's like, oh, but capitalism is the worst fucking thing in the world. It's bad, you know. I think cowardice and greed, which spawns the system that creates capitalism, is actually the bigger problem. But listen to what he's saying. He's saying that if you don't have much time to get out of the natural world to enjoy yourself, if you don't have much time to actually just make sure you have self-determining power over your job, your career, self-determining power over how you feel that you should, as far as making sure that you're not just being told to do something and you have to fucking do it. If you are just fucking lonely because you have been isolated because of the shit that we have to put up with in our fucking culture, it may be a motherfucking problem. And this is one of the things, it's like, I was listening to it at the beginning of this, and I'm just waiting for him to say like, hey, the way we're running our society right now, the structural changes that we need to make, maybe we need to do this. But let's continue.
Everyone here knows you've all got natural physical needs, right? Obviously, you need food, you need water, you need shelter, you need clean air. If I took those things away from you, you'd all be in real trouble real fast. But at the same time, every human being has natural psychological needs. You need to feel you belong. You need to feel your life has meaning and purpose. You need to feel that people see you and value you. You need to feel you've got a future that makes sense. And this culture we built is good at lots of things. Many things are better than in the past. I'm glad to be alive today. But we've been getting less and less good at meeting these deep, underlying psychological needs. And it's not the only thing that's going on, but I think it's the key reason why this crisis keeps rising and rising. And I found this really hard to absorb. I really wrestle with the idea of shifting from thinking of my depression as, just a problem in my brain to one with many causes, including many in the way we're living. And it only really began to fall into place for me when one day I went to interview a South African psychiatrist named Dr. Derek Summerfield, who's a great guy. And Dr. Summerfield happened to be in Cambodia in 2001 when they first introduced chemical antidepressants for people in that country. And the local doctors, the Cambodians, had never heard of these drugs, so they were like,
all right, so let's just actually address this. We know some of the problems that are being, like, god damn it. It's like he's writing a script for something that the fucking, I guess they would be called the dirtbag left or the new age socialists can just actually use as a key point of, and dare I say it, propaganda. And call it what you want, but he is literally saying that because people aren't connecting, because people are being isolated, people are having to deal with so much as far as the rise of individualism. And it's quite sad. It's literally quite sad that so many people are, a lot of things are actually, a lot of things can be resolved really quickly. Well, excuse me. A lot of things can be resolved with some key changes as an overall structure of our society versus just handing somebody a pill and say, oh, get over it, or oh, it's your fault. And let's actually see what the conversation was and how it was resolved. Let's continue.
what are they? And he explained. And they said to him, oh, we don't need them. We've already got antidepressants. And he was like, what do you mean? He thought they were going to talk about some kind of herbal remedy like, I don't know, St. John's wort, ginkgo biloba, something like that. Instead, they told him a story.
So let's see what this story is. Oh, what the fuck am I at? So, people that naturally have. Oh, no, I don't need that. People that. Shit, I'm sorry. Just trying to do so many things at once, guys. My fault. So, he was told a story about South African psychologists that were looking to introduce these drugs to a Cambodian town. And first, one of the most patronizing motherfucking things there is, oh, this is what antidepressants are, and oh, you guys have them? What do you mean you have them? And you realize, and you're going to realize through the story, but the first thing is, well, we're going to give you some herbs, and we're going to solve this effectively with a pill. Like, that's literally how this story starts off, and this is how they make it seem. that these people are, oh, we're just gonna give you some herbal medicine and call it a day, and that's gonna really solve your problem. But it'd be interesting for you guys to hear how the problem is actually solved with people that may have actually had some issues. So as soon as I get these skeletons off my ass, there we go. Whew. So let's hear.
There was a farmer in their community who worked in the rice fields. And one day he stood on a landmine left over from the war with the United States, and he got his leg blown off. So they gave him an artificial leg, and after a while he went back to work in the rice fields. But apparently it's super painful to work underwater when you've got an artificial limb. And I'm guessing it was pretty traumatic to go back and work in the field where he got blown up. The guy started to cry all day. He refused to get out of bed. He developed all the symptoms of classic depression. The Cambodian doctor said,
So, I'm sorry, guys. This is just like the guy got his leg blown off for some shit that we fucking did. We did. We did with our imperialism. We did with our wanting to prove America is the greatest. We did it. It was our fault. And listen to what happened. He had his leg blown off while working in the rice fields. Now, the rice fields is a hard fucking job. There is no way around that shit. The rice fields are a hard fucking job. And look at him. Look at him. He's basically had to fucking live life in a very horrible way because of shit left over from a war that we fucked up. But let's continue.
this is when we gave him an antidepressant. And Dr. Summerfield said, what was it? They explained that they went and sat with him. They listened to him. They realized that his pain made sense. It was hard for him to see it in the throes of his depression, but actually it had perfectly understandable causes in his life. One of the doctors, talking to the people in the community, figured, you know, if we bought this guy a cow, he could become a dairy farmer. He wouldn't be in this position that was screwing him up so much he wouldn't have to go and work in the rice fields. So they bought him a cow. Within a couple of weeks, his crying stopped. Within a month, his depression was gone. They said to Dr. Summerfield, so you see, doctor, that cow, that was an antidepressant. That's what you mean, right?
So let's just hear this shit. They literally talked with this man, listened to him. They took away that job that was fucking with him because, hey, who's to say I won't lose my other leg because I find another fucking landmine? They bought a man a cow. Like, let's change your whole fucking profession because, you know, sending you back to the place where you have a traumatic situation isn't probably good at all for you. And on top of that, they started to check in on him. God damn, it's almost as if you treat the person instead of a fucking symptom, you get a better fucking result. And you know what? No more fucking hard ass rice field duty. You're a fucking dairy farmer, which I'm sure in and of itself is hard fucking work. I don't want to take away from that. But it wasn't just deal with the fact that, oh, you're fucked because reasons. You're fucked because reasons. And like quite literally, Like, really, dog? Really? Why would you? Why? Just why? Why? Why would you think that somebody would just be okay with having to go back to this shit? Or, and then, like, they perfectly, they perfectly resolve this man's issue. They perfectly says, we're gonna fix this for him. We're gonna make sure that he fucking feels awesome. And he did. He fucking did. Took him about a month, but he did. But let's continue.
If you've been raised to think about depression the way I was, and most of the people here were, that sounds like a bad joke, right? I went to my doctor for an antidepressant, she gave me a cow. But what those Cambodian doctors knew intuitively, based on this individual unscientific anecdote, is what the leading medical body in the World Health Organization, has been trying to tell us for years, based on the best scientific evidence. If you're depressed, if you're anxious, you're not weak, you're not crazy, you're not, in the main, a machine with broken parts. You're a human being with unmet needs. And it's just as important to think here about what those Cambodian doctors and the World Health Organization are not saying. They did not say to this farmer, hey, buddy, you need to pull yourself together. It's your job to figure out and fix this problem on your own. On the contrary, what they said is, we're here as a group to pull together with you, so together we can figure out and fix this problem.
So, and this is one of the reasons why I want to actually do this video. Yeah, of course, it's always fun to joke about how, you know, people should pull themselves up by their bootstraps. But fuck, he only had one after the situation that we did. And yeah, I hate to make the joke. But still in all, it says this. There are things, there are situations, there are fucking horrible ass times that will cause you to feel like you've been run over by fucking life. It's not, and has not, and will ever be a person that would exclusively stand on their own 2 feet and be fucking okay. I don't care who you think you are. I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how invincible you are or how much you want to be individualistic or you want to have the pride and you want to have, well, I'm big bad me. There is no possibly human that will be able to stand on their own and be fucking okay. Like, look at the Castaway movie, and I know it's a fucking movie, but humans have to motherfucking have a community around them in order to fucking feel like fucking humans. That's what we evolved around. And yes, we did evolve. I have to say that because some people think that we didn't. But that's what we evolved from, a fucking community. We weren't the biggest, we weren't the strongest motherfuckers, and I may be parroting some shit that he says later on, but we weren't the strongest animals. We just worked together really effectively, and that's how we fucking took over the world, people. But let's continue.
This is what every depressed person needs, and it's what every depressed person deserves. This is why one of the leading doctors at the United Nations, in their official statement for World Health Day a couple of years back in 2017, said we need to talk less about chemical imbalances and more about the imbalances in the way we live. Drugs give real relief to some people. They gave relief to me for a while. But precisely because this problem goes deeper than their biology, the solutions need to go much deeper too. But when I first learned that, I remember thinking, okay, I could see all the scientific evidence. I read a huge number of studies. I interviewed a huge number.
All right. So before he goes into this, I'm gonna say this, and it may seem hyperbolic, but this individualistic individualism where it's all about me and we're being affected by we're being affected by it's all about me and I'm strong by myself is one of the main reasons why we're facing so many problems in the society. It is fucking bad and it is fucking horrible where we have certain things that are affecting us just as an overall society where people are seeming gaming compulsion as a fucking problem. You know why gaming compulsion is a problem? Not because fucking playing games is some horrible thing. I'm fucking playing one right now. It's because people are using that to take the place. They're using it to take the place of a social relationship. We have people that are reviving fucking Nazis because they feel that they need a parasocial relationship in order to belong with some shit. There are people who are definitely afraid of being ostracized. Well, I can't say because and are denying themselves in so many ways because they don't want to face being alone. There are studies where you see people are like solitary confinement quite literally has been determined torture by so many countries. Ironically, because the U.S. has such a high prison population, we don't consider it torture, but it has been determined as torture because when you cut people off from the social network of even horrible people, that is worse than torture. There was a study about a guy, he was in solitary confinement for 10 years. He lost track of how time worked. And he lost some language skills. All because he could connect with other people. And you want to sit back and tell me that, oh yeah, no big deal? And this is being reinforced by the system of monetary policy that we have called capitalism, but it's really corporatism, where profits are more important to people and anything to do to get you to spend more money on profits and spend more time on focusing on me instead of we, instead of actually addressing issues where, hey, let's all work together to make everybody's life better instead of just fuck them, I want this. But let's continue.
With the experts who were explaining this, I kept thinking, all right, but how can we possibly do that, right? The things that are making us depressed are in most cases more complex than what was going on with this Cambodian farmer. Where do we even begin with that insight? But then, in the long journey for my book, all over the world, I kept meeting people who were doing exactly that, from Sydney to San Francisco to Sao Paulo. I kept meeting people who were understanding the deeper causes of depression and anxiety, and as groups, fixing them. So obviously I can't tell you about all the amazing people that I got to know and wrote about, or all of the...
So, if you actually just saw that, and let me change my setup. I'm sorry, I forgot to change it from Horizon Zero Dawn.
Are in most cases more complex than what was going on with this Cambodian farmer. Where do we even begin with that insight? But then, in the long journey for my book,
and I'm gonna
all over the world, I
hold
kept
on.
meeting people.
My fault, guys. Let me
The 9
change it.
causes of depression and anxiety that I learned about, because they won't let me give it.
Give me a second. But yeah, this is fucking this is some fucked up shit where instead they're trying to resolve issues and they're having a better chance of resolving fucking issues with depression and
Understanding the
anxiety
deeper causes of depression and anxiety, and as groups fix
because they're working on it as groups instead of just issues where there we go, just chatting. All right, done. Instead of just trying to actually work on it as let's work with the individual symptoms of a problem and then we'll resolve it. People are finding more successful working with it as a group. But let's continue.
a 10-hour TED talk, you can complain about that to them. But I want to focus on two of the causes and two of the solutions that emerge from them, if that's all right. Here's the first. We are the loneliest society in human history. There was a recent study that asked Americans, do you feel like you're no longer close to anyone? And 39% of people said that described them, no longer close to anyone.
All right, so, and this is one of the key phrases, the key things, the key points that I actually want to bring up in watching this video and actually making sure that we address these particular points is because we are one of the loneliest groups, loneliest amounts of society. With all the connectivity that we have now, with the internet, with Facebook, I know it's on the internet, Google Plus, even though Google is stupid for getting rid of Google Plus, with WhatsApp, Instagram, with Twitch, Twitter, we are a society where we are being isolated. We're being really isolated away from some of the things that made us function and actually succeed as a fucking species. And yes, we're only one species, the human species. That's just neither here nor there. No, it's both. It fucking matters. And anyway, fucking idiot. But it's a thing. Like, we are, in essence, hurting ourselves with actually limiting the amount of connectivity that we have. Now, I'm also one of the ones that believes that the internet is a great tool. Some people misuse it. Some people are isolated because of it. I like it because it allows you to connect with others. It allows you to actually make friends with people halfway across the town, state, country, world. It allows that connection. And as long as you're supplementing that with actual physical human interaction, I think the internet can be a great fucking thing. The internet is something where you're able to understand other people's plights, even if you don't see them face to face every day. But you're able to connect and actually meet and actually learn about other people's, others' worlds, other cultures. I like to joke about the reason why I had such an open mind about connecting with people that may be halfway across the fucking world is because of the internet. You know, watch anime. Some of the anime, let's just say, is a reason why some anime, Kenchimoto is like one of my favorite animes, but that's me being I don't even know what the right term to call that one. I don't know. But it's one of those things where we just need to address the fact that, hey, the internet is good, but we also have some of the worst things that happen because of the internet. People being radicalized because they have no connection, so they fall for different groups, different parasocial relationships because they need to belong. And this is where we have the problem. But let's continue.
The international measurements of loneliness, Britain and the rest of Europe are just behind the US, in case anyone here is feeling smug.
Let's go back a
In
little
human
bit.
history. There was a recent study that asked Americans, do you feel like you're no longer close to anyone? And 39% of people said that described them no longer close to anyone.
So, wow. Let's just listen to that. 39% of the people that were surveyed says that they feel like they're no longer close to anyone. That's a third. That's a fucking third. Now, if you want to say that this is a reason why we need to have young males in relationships where, like, the Jordan Petersons of the world, then oh God, I'm almost agreeing with Jordan Peterson. That makes me feel so. No, because I agree that the data is there, but the reasons are fucking different. But if you feel that you have so many people that are isolated and they feel disenfranchised, that's what's going on. We fucking live in a culture, not just locally or nationally, globally, where it's just saying, hey, you can stand on your own and you won't need not a fucking thing. Because it's easy to sell to one person when they're isolated. It's easy to make, I don't know, a profit off of thinking that you have no power, you're standing alone, it's only you, and you have to be as strong as you can, but when you don't, it's your fault. But let's continue.
In the international measurements of loneliness, Britain and the rest of Europe are just behind the US, in case anyone here is feeling smug. And I spent a lot of time discussing this with the leading expert in the world on loneliness, an incredible man named Professor John Cacioppo, who was at Chicago, and I thought a lot about one question his work poses to us. So Professor Cacioppo asked, why do we exist? Why are we here? Why are we alive? One key reason is that our ancestors on the savannas of Africa were really good at one thing. They weren't bigger than the animals they took down a lot of the time. They weren't faster than the animals they took down a lot of the time. But they were much better at banding together into groups and cooperating. This was our superpower as a species. We band together. Just like bees evolved to live in a hive, humans evolved to live in a tribe. And we are the first humans ever to disband our tribes.
So, and this is a key point. This is actually something where we need to address. Quite frankly, yes, that's how humans succeeded to fucking take over the world, as I said before. And like I said, I probably stole this quote from him. But think about that for a second. How is it that humans were able to hunt the woolly mammoths of the prehistoric world? And I said that really weird, I don't know, but yeah. I think there's mammoths in here. I know there's at least elephants, but how were humans able to take down woolly mammoths? We weren't bigger than them, obviously. We weren't stronger than them, but we fucking worked together. We came up with a plan. We fucking used tools. And we took down them big motherfuckers because they were awesome for fucking meat. I'm walking in circles. But yeah, that's what happened. That's why humans took over. And yet nowadays we have this instance where we're telling ourselves that no, we don't need to band together. We don't need to make sure that you have a community around you. And don't mistake this for saying that you should actually be around a specific kind of people. No, don't want anyone to actually believe that, because we are all the same kind of fucking people. But our biggest problem is we've told ourselves you don't need anybody. And those you do need, you should fucking dominate. And in order not to be dominated, you need to separate yourselves from certain people. And it's just led to just situations where we've screwed ourselves, where we've actually just made it where if you don't want to be dominated by me, then if you don't want to go back to the way where you don't have a voice, which still leads to some of the same things that you have with not being able to be non-deterministic of your own future, then be alone. And I'm sorry, that is key point of capitalism, where they're saying, hey, we want you isolated so you have less power. One of the biggest fucking things that I find so fucking hilarious is that when you see workers that fucking band together from, I don't care what nationality, what, previous history, you see things where unionization actually works when workers stand up for other people, where people actually are going through periods in their lives where they have an uncertain future, because they're deciding to have the gall or tenacity to stand up together and say, we're not putting up with this bullshit. They have the tenacity to say, hey, stop screwing with us. We're gonna fucking stand together. They solve fucking problems. Do you know? And for people who haven't been keeping track of this, people who haven't actually followed this, in fucking Hong Kong, people know about that. But did you know that they got what they want eventually, because everybody started to fucking stand together? They started to fix problems because they said, stop screwing with us. Problems were starting to be fixed because people started to work together. But you may say, oh no, these are people who are from one specific culture. Okay. How did the Arizona teachers win? Because it was more than just them. How did the West Virginia teachers win? Because it was more than just one type of people there. How did the fucking, let's just say it, GM win? GM, where it has been recent documented cases of prejudice, of bigotry, of racism. You know what they started to do? Fucking stand together. And you know what happened? What happened was they fucking resolved the issue where they were able to get more, not just for the current workers themselves, but for the temps as well. And you know what? As we will see, maybe that can also help with so much of the mental health issues that we're having. But let's continue.
And it's making us feel awful. But it doesn't have to be this way. One of the heroes in my book, and in fact in my life, is a doctor named Sam Everington. He's a general practitioner in a poor part of East London where I lived for many years. And Sam was really uncomfortable because he had loads of patients coming to him with terrible depression and anxiety. And like me, he's not opposed to chemical antidepressants. He thinks they give some relief to some people. But he could see two things. Firstly, his patients were depressed and anxious a lot of the time for totally understandable reasons, like loneliness. And secondly, although the drugs were giving some relief to some people, for many people, they didn't solve the problem, the underlying problem.
And see, this is where I got upset with this video. Not what he's espousing. I get it. Like I said, having a chemical having antidepressants does help some people. But he just said a poor, lower income section of East London. I wonder what could be something that's driving people to be depressed. I wonder. Like, come on, guy. Maybe they haven't pulled themselves up by their bootstraps and that's why they're depressed. Oh, no. Because they had fucking insecurities because of being poor. That's what hurt people. And you know what? When people feel like that, you know what they do? You know what they do? They don't want to associate with other people because they feel inadequate or less than, because we have told people if you're not making it, it's your fault. Oh, damn, wait, that almost sounds as if you're having mental health issues is also your fault. I wonder, could those two things be related? But let's continue.
One day, Sam decided to pioneer a different approach. A woman came to his center, his medical center, called Lisa Cunningham. I got to know Lisa later. And Lisa had been shut away in her home with crippling depression and anxiety for 7 years. And when she came to Sam's center, she was told, don't worry, we'll carry on giving you these drugs, but we're also going to prescribe something else. We're going to prescribe for you to come here to this center twice a week to meet with a group of other depressed and anxious people, not to talk about how miserable you are, but to figure out something meaningful you can all do together so you won't be lonely and you won't feel like life is pointless. The first time this group met, Lisa literally started vomiting with anxiety. It was so overwhelming for her. But people rubbed her back, the group started talking. They were like, what could we do? These are inner city East London people like me. They didn't know anything about gardening. They were like, why don't we learn gardening? There was an area behind the doctor's offices that was just like scrubland. They were like, why don't we make this into a garden? So they started to take books out of the library. They started to watch YouTube clips. They started to get their fingers in the soil. They started to learn the rhythms of the seasons. There's a lot of evidence that exposure to the natural world is a really powerful antidepressant.
So I'm going to stop him right there because he took a break, so I might as well interject right here. They kept the woman on drugs. That's fine. That's cool. But they also said, hey, why don't we do this as well? Like, put you in a group where you can actually speak with somebody about some shit that's fucking bothering you. How about that? And you know what? They said, well, let's try this. Let's try that. Let's try to make it where you feel better about yourself, better about other shit. And let's see how this shit works out. Ooh, let's do some gardening. Natural world, you feel like you have some determination of what you're doing. And you know what? Maybe the community efforts of everyone standing around, maybe that'll help. But let's continue.
But they started to do something even more important. They started to form a tribe. They started to form a group. They started to care about each other. If one of them didn't show up, the others would go looking for them, say, hey, you okay? Help them figure out what was troubling them that day. The way Lisa put it to me, as the garden began to bloom, we began to bloom. This approach is called social prescribing. It's spreading all over Europe. And there's a small but growing body of evidence suggesting it can produce real and meaningful falls in depression and anxiety. And one day I remember standing in the garden that Lisa and her once depressed friends had built. It's a really beautiful garden. And having this thought, it's very much inspired by a guy called Professor Hugh Mackay in Australia. I was thinking, so often when people feel down in this culture, what we say to them, I'm sure everyone here said it, I have, is we say, oh, you just need to be you, be yourself. And I realized actually what we should say to people is, don't be you. Don't be yourself. Be us. Be we. Be part of a group.
So this is actually something where, and this is one of the things that I dislike with people take from actually making sure everyone has a job. People take the wrong message from people needing to be connected with something from their hands. People take the wrong message from what Mark's saying, that a man needs to be determined by his own, determined, have to feel like he's creating something with their own hands. It's never from you need to toil, you need to always work, and thus you're a better person. No, it feels, you want to actually feel like you're doing something. You want to actually feel like you're making a fucking difference. You want to actually feel as if what you're contributing to things actually helps out someone. I will fucking admit, I get more satisfaction from coming to fucking do this shit right here. And it's not for the prestige, it's not from the affirmation of somebody else on the motherfucking internet. It's the fact that I am actually saying, hey, I'm able to express myself. I'm able to actually put my own spin, flavor, whatever you call it, jizz, don't give a fuck, on an expression of my own work. I fucking do art. I fucking have, god damn it, I fucking do art. I fucking create shit with my hands. Quite literally, this was a boredom project, but I fucking feel awesome about it because, god damn it, it was something that I created for my fucking self. This weird ass little videos that I have on my channel. It is me with an expression of my view, my points. Now, I would love for you guys to like and subscribe or follow so I can actually get revenue from it. But I find this more rewarding than the fucking 8-10 hours that I do at my job. So much so that after being at work for 9.5-10 hours, I come to try to give you guys an hour of my time. And it's not because, oh yeah, you want fame or fortune. No, I purposely, if I ever get to a point where I was living a rich life, I wouldn't fucking know what to do with myself because I don't want that fucking attention. I want to be able to express myself and feed off of fucking stories from other people. That's the thing. That's actually one of the best things in the world because, to me, because I'm actually fucking being able to express myself. I'm actually being able to say, hey, this is, I get to fucking, you know, see the results of my own fucking labor, relatively speaking, with the videos that I put out. That's where you find the sweat of your brow, where so many people actually find, what would you call it, fulfillment in some of the things that they do, because that's what they're doing. They're actually being the person, or they're expressing themselves in a way where it's rewarding. And yeah, fucking farming or gardening is fucking hard. That goes without, that's a fucking understatement. But it was something that made them feel better about themselves because they were actually able to get their hands dirty, put their hands in the soil, and actually, make it where they're able to express themselves in certain ways. But let's continue.
The solution to these problems does not lie in drawing more and more on your resources as an isolated individual. That's partly what got us into this crisis. It lies on reconnecting with something bigger than you. And that really connects to one of the other causes of depression and anxiety that I wanted to talk to you about. So everyone knows junk food has taken over our diets and made us physically sick. I don't say that with any sense of superiority. I literally came to give this talk from McDonald's. But
So let's just address that part, and I'm sorry I cut it off the last time, but let's just address that. So many people are it's just that let's just hear it again, because I forgot what I was gonna say right quick. I'm sorry.
junk food has taken over our diets.
Go back.
And that really connects to one of the other causes of depression and anxiety that I wanted to talk to you about. So everyone knows that the solution to these problems does not lie in drawing more and more on your resources as an isolated individual. That's partly what got us into this crisis. It lies on reconnecting with something bigger than you. And that...
Okay, now that that's what I was gonna say. So one of the biggest things, one of the incorrect critiques that I feel that has happened with Nietzsche. So you hear these like, fuck, what did we hear? We heard fucking Monday Blue talk about how, oh, Nietzsche says nothing matters, so you should just give the fuck up. And a lot of people actually miss what Nietzsche actually was talking about when he was talking about God is dead, who can watch. He was talking about fucking wonder. The wonder of, hey, this shit is cool. Hey, we don't really know what it is. Hey, like, we need, like, there are certain things that we as a culture, people, whatever have you, used to wonder in awe and amazement of. And a lot of that shit is gone now, and a lot of the fucking reasons why it was killed really was because, well, let's face it, it was superstition, and we know better now, and all of that other good shit. But the problem with that is that we lost a lot of connection that we used to have with religion, with, you know, different things, with different... I can't believe my scythe is gonna fucking well. A lot of it is some of the things that we lost with that connection that we used to have, that community. And some of those communities were fucking horrible. The isolation that a lot of people saw because of quote unquote racial divide or things of that nature, or things of that whole shit. A lot of the things that we saw because people were divided by racial lines. Yeah, of course, that shit need to go away. But we have good ways of connecting and communicating and meeting and just understanding more meaning and more togetherness. People that can be brought together by a bond of not just familial or historical ties, but ties of idea, ties of principle, ties of conviction. That was an awesome way of becoming we. We had that for a while. And that's the one bad thing I would say about so many people losing religion. Because they lost that sense of community. And that's the reason why you see a lot of people that stay in religious communities, even though they've lost that faith that they once had. Because it's about the communities. But let's continue.
That really connects to one of the other causes of depression and anxiety that I wanted to talk to you about. So everyone knows junk food has taken over our diets and made us physically sick. I don't say that with any sense of superiority. I literally came to give this talk from McDonald's. But I saw all of you eating that healthy TED breakfast. I was like, no way.
And again, it's like he's dancing around the situation. And I'm not even saying he's doing maliciously or something of that nature. It's like he's dancing around the conversation where, why is junk food taking over our diets? Because it's cheap and profitable for so many fucking. It's cheap and it's profitable for. It's the profit model. So many companies actually have a benefit in making sure that you eat cheaply and frequently, and it's not. I doubt it's from some. Really, it was on my wheel the whole time. Fuck. I doubt it's from some malicious intent, but when they were told that it was causing a fucking problem, they didn't necessarily stop. But let's continue.
But just like junk food has taken over our diets and made us physically sick, a kind of junk values have taken over our minds and made us mentally sick. For thousands of years, philosophers have said, if you think life is about money and status and showing off, you're going to feel like crap, right? That's not an exact quote from Schopenhauer, but that is the gist of what he said, right? But weirdly, hardly anyone had scientifically investigated this until a truly extraordinary person I got to know named Professor Tim Kasser, who's at Knox College in Illinois. And he's been researching this for about 30 years now.
It's almost as if when you make people value based on their fucking money, and people that don't have that much money, they feel like they don't have much self-value. I wonder what system actually says that you should place your value on how much money you have. I wonder. No, I don't know what system would do that. I don't know what system would make sure that, hey, if you're poor, like people that live in East England, in London, you may have some fucking issues that you need to address because of a fucking system. I'm sorry, guys. It's not me looking for some fucking capitalist boogeyman anywhere and everywhere. And quite frankly, I like capitalism to a point. I think that it is better than communism. But when you have a blend of fucking capitalism and communism, you know what it's fucking called? Socialism. But, motherfuckers won't tell you that. They'll say socialism is the same as communism. No, it's not. But let's continue.
And his research suggests several really important things. Firstly, the more you believe you can buy and display your way out of sadness and into a good life, the more likely you are to become depressed and anxious. And secondly, as a society, we have become much more driven by these beliefs. All throughout my lifetime, under the weight of advertising and Instagram and everything like them. And as I thought about this, I realized it's like we've all been fed since birth a kind of KFC for the soul. Right? We've been trained to look for happiness in all the wrong places. And just like junk food doesn't meet your nutritional needs and actually makes you feel terrible, junk values don't meet your psychological needs.
It's almost as if this motherfucker is just like scared to say it. I watched Howard, and I may actually have the time to do the video today. Fuck it, I don't have shit to do. And I may actually just do it. It's like, but for real, dog, for real. You really saying this shit? You really saying this shit? Like, what else can you fucking say? Plant fibers, Levian agents. Where do you do this shit from? fucking furnace. Why the fuck do you put that shit? Oh, I guess. It's almost as if he's saying like, it's like, dude, come on now, you see what the fucking problem is. You fucking see what the problem is, and it's just like, I don't know. It's the values that we live by. Like, really, really, it's the values that we live by. It's the fucking values that we live by. Okay, what are those? What is that value system called when they say you should make more money? Wait, what? Why is it giving me spiced bread? Oh, just regular bread. Okay, cool. But let's continue.
And they take you away from a good life. But when I first spent time with Professor Kasser and I was learning all this, I felt a really weird mixture of emotions. Because on the one hand, I found this really challenging. I could see how often in my own life, when I felt down, I tried to remedy it with some kind of show-offy, grand, external solution. And I could see why that did not work well for me. But I also thought, isn't this kind of obvious? Isn't this almost like banal, right? If I said to everyone here, none of you are going to lie on your deathbed and think about all the shoes you bought and all the retweets you got, right? You're going to think about moments of love and meaning and connection in your life. I think that seems almost like a cliche, but I kept talking to Professor Kasser and saying, you know, why am I feeling this strange doubleness? And he said, well, at some level, we all know these things, but in this culture, we don't live by them. We know them so well, they become cliches, but we don't live by them. And I kept asking, well, why? Why would that be? Why would we know something so profound but not live by it? And after a while, Professor Kasser said to me, because we live in a machine that is designed to get us to neglect what is important about life. I had to really think about that, because we live in a machine that is designed to get us to neglect what is important about life.
I mean, like, the shit writes itself. The shit, like, literally writes itself. And it's just like, wait, what? What? Like, I swear to God, guys and girls, and everybody in between, when I watched this shit, I literally was like, it's like, he's describing fucking capitalism, late stage capitalism, as we have it now. Like, what the fuck? Like, and why isn't he just bringing it up? Why isn't he saying anything? And I get it. I fucking get it. And you know what? The one thing about this talk that he's actually saying, and fuck, there are certain things that personal responsibility can be used to an effective means, an effective way of saying that, yeah, some shit is your fault. But this isn't one of them. Where it comes to a lot of the problems, a lot of it is just like, yo, this is a fucking problem. This is a fucking problem. And we need to resolve it together as a fucking group. And he's actually giving criticism on how we've been isolated, we've been individualized, we've been told. He literally names, there's a machine that is telling us to ignore certain things. Why don't you call it what it is? Name drop, roll credits. Oh, sorry. But let's continue.
And Professor Kasser wanted to figure out if we can disrupt that machine. He's done loads of research into this. I'll tell you about one example, and I really urge everyone here to try this with their friends and their family. So with a guy called Nathan Dungan, he got a group of teenagers and adults to come together for a series of sessions over a period of time to meet up. And part of the point of the group was to get people to think about a moment in their life they have actually found meaning and purpose. For different people, it was different things. Some people, it was playing music, writing, helping someone. I'm sure everyone here can picture something, right? And part of the point of the group was to get people to ask, okay, How could you dedicate more of your life to pursuing these moments of meaning and purpose and less to, I don't know, buying crap you don't need, putting it on social media and trying to get people to go, OMG, so jealous, right? And what they found was just having these meetings, it was like a kind of Alcoholics Anonymous for consumerism, right? Just getting people to have these meetings, articulate these values, determine to act on them, and check in with each other, led to a marked shift in people's values. It took them away from this hurricane of depression-generating messages, training us to seek happiness in the wrong places, and towards more meaningful and nourishing values that lift us out of depression.
So let's just talk about that. He is literally saying that the fucking consumerism that we have now is a fucking problem. He is literally advocating for more people to have more time where they can make more benefits of time for themselves. This is the shit that he's advocating for. This is the same shit that you see with people who are genuinely on the left and want to advocate for social reform. This is the same shit. And it's just... You're getting results from people who are effectively making sure that their mental health is taken in with more care, because they're looking to make sure that, hey, we need to actually be better with this. We need to make sure that people are better looked after. Ooh, rhino head soup. Black rhino head, exotic flesh, and soup. Shit. Need that. And it's amazing to me. It's fucking amazing to me, because what has ended up happening is we know what the fucking problem is. It's the individualism. It's the isolation that everybody's experiencing because, companies have to make a profit. But let's continue.
But with all the solutions that I saw and have written about, and many I can't talk about here, I kept thinking, why did it take me so long to see these insights, right? Because when you explain them to people, some of them are more complicated, but not all. When you explain them to people, it's not like rocket science, right? At some level, we already know these things. Why do we find it so hard to understand? I think there's many reasons, but I think one reason is that we have to change our understanding of what depression and anxiety actually are. There are very real biological contributions to depression and anxiety. But if we allow the biology to become the whole picture, as I did for so long, as I would argue our culture has done pretty much for most of my life, what we're implicitly saying to people is, and this isn't anyone's intention, but what we're implicitly saying to people is, your pain doesn't mean anything. It's just a malfunction. It's like a glitch in a computer program. It's just a wiring problem in your head.
So this is one of the key things, one of the things that is just so fucking awesome about this. It's... If you address the fucking problem that, hey, maybe it's a problem with the way we are fucking treating the problem instead of treating it as an individual problem, where, oh no, it's your fault, you're the reason why, and it's your fault, so we don't have to make any changes to fucking society because it's one person's problem. Then we let the system keep going, even if it means to the detriment of others. It's one of those things where, yes, it would be things that we would have to work diligently to resolve if we wanted to say make sure that more people are included in our society. But it would actually be, I wouldn't say just as much work, but you wouldn't have the issues where so many people were just fall into detriment because the system isn't working for them, and now they feel like an asshole because a system that we know that isn't working for everyone, it makes a few very wealthy, some somewhat wealthy, but a whole lot of people unwealthy. And it also hurts a lot of motherfucking people. No, we can't address that system because it'd be too much hard work. In other words, people at the top may have to give up some of their money, some of their power, in order to make sure the system works for everybody. No, we can't do that. We just gonna treat it as a you problem. How the Ben Shapiro says, that's not a me problem, that's a you problem. Even though it's a all of us problem. It's affecting us all. It'd be funny. Maybe if we had better equality, Ben Shapiro wouldn't feel like he needs to talk fast in order to make seem like his points make fucking sense. Because even though his points come in a rapid fire phrase, he literally sounds like a fucking fool. And this is for somebody who talks fast for a living. Fucking work in a call center. Have to talk fast. But let's continue.
But I was only able to start changing my life when I realized your depression is not a malfunction. It's a signal. Your depression is a signal. It's telling you something. We feel this way for reasons, and they can be hard to see in the throes of depression. I understand that really well from personal experience. But with the right help, we can understand these problems and we can fix these problems together. But to do that, the very first step is we have to stop insulting these signals by saying they're a sign of weakness or madness or purely biological, except for a tiny number of people. We need to start listening to these signals because they're telling us something we really need to hear. It's only when we truly listen to these signals and we honor these signals and respect these signals that we're going to begin to see the liberating, nourishing, deeper solutions, the cows that are waiting all around us. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks. All right, so, yeah. Yeah, I'm finished with Conan today. I made some progress. I want to make a little bit more. So, let's just address this. And, well, quite frankly, we know there's a rise in mental health problems. And we know that this rise is actually steadily and declining. And one can argue, I don't have any data for it, but one can argue the rise in recreational and prescription drugs can be can directly be correlation to the amount of stress that we have in our lives, the amount of insecurities that we have in our lives, be it financial, social, or even just global stability with both politics and fucking climate change. One can argue this shit. One can have that conversation. One can actually say that, hey, the reason why we have so many recreational drugs is because people, as they always have wanted to do, wanted to get high, wanted to just not think about it. I look about my own community. There is so much recreational drug use, from marijuana to cigarettes to fucking alcohol. You don't need to be high or drunk or inebriated all that time. You're dealing with shit. And I was talking with a friend of mine where there are so many things in the African American community that We're not making up police brutality, and I would think that the last few years have actually shown that there is serious suppression, depression, and oppression that are happening to so many communities. And now people are waking up to say, oh shit, this is really happening. They weren't lying. And this is never to take away that some poor white farmer or some poor white old steel worker in the fucking further Rust Belt, that they haven't suffered as well. That's one of the fucking things about it. We have all fucking suffered under this system of fucking capitalism. We've all suffered under this system of wealth inequality. And yet, a lot of people are saying, well, the Mexicans are coming to take our jobs. The Chinese are coming to take our jobs. This and that is saying. The only reason why people who are poorer than you are able to come and get the job is because somebody who's richer than you is willing to give it to them. And we used to make the excuse that all companies have to fucking make money. But now it's coming at the cost of you, and you're so pissed off that you hired a fucking reality TV show star to run the fucking country. When it's about the fact that we don't have security. And yes, there is a myth and a lie that Republicans build the security by having that good old fashioned army, which is the world's biggest government jobs programs and socialist program that we fucking see. Literally, look at it. Government funds jobs and contracts so people can actually have a way of living. But you mad at the socialists. Look, I am not one to say, and I've said it, I'm not a communist. I do believe that people should have personal property. I believe that. But to the steps that we're taking, fuck this. Fuck this. Fuck the people who say money over everything. I'm sorry, dog. I would rather have a much fulfilling life doing shit that I like. If I was able to change out my job that I have right now for this shit, where I can speak with you guys, where I can actually have fucking conversations, where I can actually say, hey, let's talk about some shit today and get paid the same amount or a little bit more because I'm fucking struggling, I would. It's not about the fact that I want to be rich someday. And to be honest with you, a lot of people never really want to be rich. They want that insecurity to go away. And that's the problem. That's the lie that a lot of people believe. They believe that if I'm a millionaire, then I won't have to worry about shit. Tell you what, millionaires worry about more shit than you do because they're so scared of getting back down to where they were before that they would do things like step on other people to make sure that they don't. But anyway, guys, I am damn. Can I do Hauer? So I want to do Nick Hanauer, however you speak his name. But I'm fucking thirsty and I gotta go piss. So give me one moment. I'll be right fucking back. right. Thank you
You can
guys
support
for
me
holding
at
for me.
patreon.com/.
Turn that off. I'm back. I'm back. Whew. Shit. Water, the non-nectar of... I don't know. It was just water. Yeah. Woo. Within me or without me, death is for sure. Within you, it is life. Yeah, I was playing God of War earlier today, and I was actually at that part. But let's continue. All right, so we're doing Nick Hanauer. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He's just like... okay, let's do it. Let's, the fuck? Hold on, guys. Hold on.
Most.
All right, so if you didn't know, Nick Hanauer, fuck, I just don't know how to say his name, and I'm not even gonna try to like either butcher it any further. So he actually, had a quote unquote banned TED Talk. This was fucking awesome, right? So his banned TED Talk was where he here it goes. Where he actually was talking about how fucking capitalists should actually be careful that, you know, the pitchforks is a coming. The pitch, no, I gotta. Come on. While I'm doing that, I can just wait. He had a band TED Talk. Who's like the pitchforks is a coming. And we need to make sure that rich folks, you need to like not be that asshole where you actually just hold on. There we go. Oh my god, I can't believe that I've only been streaming for like an hour and a half. Oh well. But where they actually said that he was like, yo, just because you made motherfucking money doesn't mean that you should actually, you are worth more than the people who didn't. And also, you know, me as a rich guy, him speaking, I can only buy so many pairs of pants. I can't buy as many pairs of pants to keep the industry going where we can just give money to people who fucking need the money and they can actually spend money. It was that whole thing behind the economic stimulus that Barack Obama did when it came to the giving more people money in their check versus giving them a one-time payout like George Bush did. And like if you don't remember that. So what happened was Bush was like, "Oh yeah, we're going to give people some money to spend money. And we're going to give them a one-time $600 check." And they're going to actually boost the economy. No, shit didn't happen. But then Barack Obama came in with a crash in 2008. He's like, we're going to make sure that people are more financially secure. And my impression of those two are just horrible. We're going to give more money back to people's check. And then they're going to spend the money and make sure that they have even more money. Like I said, my impressions of them are horrible. I get that. But anyway, it goes. Hanauer actually was somebody that says, we need to give more money to poor people. We need to give more money to people who's struggling because that's the best way to boost the economy. Give money from the bottom up, not trickle down. Because a rising tide lifts all fucking boats. make me sympathizing with Kingpin. Although, if you've never watched season 1 of Daredevil, that's fucking the Samaritan speech was the fucking awesome. It's like, I'm not the priest, I'm not the Levite, I'm not even the Good Samaritan. I'm the ill intent that set upon the traveler who's on a road that he shouldn't be on. Fuck, that was an awesome speech. Now I gotta go back and watch that shit. There we go. Anyway, so while we're waiting for the game to update, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna wait for the game to update. But yeah, I think I did a video on him. I forget which video that I did on my channel. It was one of the half-ass shows. I think I probably should go back and kind of make sure I label those a little bit better, because it never actually I don't know. To me, it just seems like I was being lazy. To be honest with you, I was fucking being lazy when I was doing it. So, let's see. Let's go to my library. Yay. History, watch later. Don't need that. I need that. Playlist. No. It wouldn't make sense that I go to full playlist. It wouldn't make sense that I didn't fucking label it. But it was like literally the talk was him talking about how, we need to make sure that we address this. And I probably should go through and retitle the shit. Like, really, I do. I need to retitle the shit. It's one of those things. Yeah. But, yeah. That's a thing. That's a really fucking thing. But anyway, 4 minutes left. But, yeah, maybe I can actually pull it up. No, I'm not even going to pull it up because I don't want to. But, while we're waiting for this, let's just talk.
I were to sit here and tell you, like, I believe in X type of stuff.
Let's just sit back and talk. Let's just have that conversation. So, one of the things that a lot of people are actually pushing, especially Mr. Bernard Sanders, is that I love his thing where he says rich people, billionaires should not exist. That's a play on a billionaire is a failure of policy. And he actually goes and spells out his plan for taxing wealth. And the funniest fucking thing about it is, too, it was fucking hilarious because Elizabeth Warren came out with a plan that was, ironically, a lot closer to Bernie's plan than when he originally laid out, like, decades ago. And then when Bernie Sanders was like, wait a minute, hold my beer. And he's been having a fight with Bezos over Amazon workers payers. Pay. Wow. And it's been funny because he just put a little bit pressure on Bezos, showed up to rallies and shit. I was like, oh yeah, I was one of the top candidates for the Democratic presidential election 2016. Let me bring to bear my political capital. And people are like, oh, that's stupid, he's not gonna win. Guess what happened? He got more capital because he actually got them to fucking change without much of a fight. And that's one of the things that actually, and let me just bring it on me. Bring it on me right here. Bring it on me. That's one of the things that was fucking awesome about that whole situation. The situation was, didn't put up much of a fight. It was like, hey, I got these people that need to have more security with their work. What are you gonna do about it? And these people who you think would have more to lose if they start paying people better or starting to have better working conditions. It was like, no, we can't. And it was like, I have this political pressure behind me that's focused on you. And they caved. Walmart caved. Amazon caved. And this is after they just had to fucking fight with AOC, with the AOC pushing Walmart against Headquarters 2 in New York. And it was like, why are we giving tax breaks? Amazon was like, I'm going to take my ball and go home. And then you got the second punch from Sanders. And guess what? It was like, oh yeah, we need to start paying our workers more. This is the shit that just is fucking... Like, I like fights. I like fucking political fights like this. And it's awesome where you're actually starting to see the people who are plutocrat. Fucking Hanauer. Fuck. And I hate that I mispronounced. Nick is one of those says, like, he actually says he's a plutocrat. He states he's a plutocrat. And you know what? He's recognized that in the end, when you have too much inequality, pitchforks come out. Bolshevik revolutions, anyone? That shit happened. The shit that caused Russia to be exited out of World War I is because the people got tired of the shit. French revolutions, anyone? The revolution, anybody? Now, the thing about it is, yes, as soon as they threw off the power structure that they had, and they immediately imposed their own, and I have to agree with Bo of the fifth column with this one. It's like, when you're under the weight and yoke of somebody else, you're gonna fucking fight back. Now, at some point, if you are that dominating power, you got to be like, hey, how long till the peasants revolt? How long? And you got to think about it. Do you want to be on the side that the peasants are coming after? Or do you want to be like, yo, I've been saying this shit for the longest. I've been trying to, like, make sure everything is fair. And this is the fun part about this video. And it looks like, yeah. The fun part about this video is that he actually addresses a question. Where it's like, well, if you like it so much, why don't you do it? Not just one man. It doesn't just say one man to do it. But I'm bearing the lead. Quit fucking playing with me. Let's just start listening to the video.
I am a capitalist. And after a 30-year career in capitalism, spanning 36 companies, generating tens of billions of dollars in market value, I'm not just in the top 1%, I'm in the top 0.01% of all earners.
So let's just keep in mind, this is the third TED Talk he's done about this shit. He is literally fucking screaming from the Raptors, and this is in July of 2019. July of 2019. This is after this motherfucker has gotten a tax cut because motherfucking Trump. This is after you've had those plans, as I said, about Elizabeth Warren and the ever-present socialist boogeyman Bernie Sanders, who's actually conservative compared to all the rest of the world stage, has actually come out with these plans. This is somebody who says, like, I will willingly pay enough motherfucking taxes because, hey, if I pay more fucking taxes to the state, then I know that they can protect more of my money and make sure that the people who, if shit breaks down, can come take shit that's more valuable than my money. Let's give more money to these people. But, oh, no. People like him are just being hyperbolic. People like me are just being hyperbolic, and we want all free shit. You can keep saying that shit, but let's continue.
Today, I have come to share the secrets of our success because rich capitalists like me have never been richer. So the question is, how do we do it? How do we manage to grab an ever-increasing share of the economic pie every year?
Because they work hard. They're just better individuals. I couldn't even finish all the lie. But let's continue.
Is it that rich people are smarter than we were 30 years ago?
I'm sorry. I had to laugh. Sure.
Is it that we're working harder than we once did? Are we taller? Better looking? Sadly, no.
Okay, I gotta give it to him. Self-deprecating humor is fucking awesome when it comes from a situation like this.
It all comes down to just one thing: economics. Because here's the dirty secret. There was a time in which the economics profession worked in the public interest for everyone, but in the neoliberal era, today, they work only for big corporations.
Yeah. Secret word, neoliberalism. Neoliberalism. Ah, wow. Neoliberalism. Yay, I said it. So, that's the thing. A lot of these people that call themselves liberals in government aren't. They're neoliberals. Like, we have neocons or neoconservatives, where they feel that money is the direction and the path that you'd actually take. And we should only use things like identity politics to get you to vote for us because we're better than the people who don't want to give you your money but also don't want to recognize your specific pronouns that you want to call yourself. Yeah, we're better than them, so vote for us. But you're still taking money out of my pocket. We're better than them, so still vote for us. And then you have this shit where it's just like, you wonder why people don't vote as much as they should. But let's continue.
And billionaires. And that is creating a little bit of a problem. We could choose to enact economic policies that raise taxes on the rich, regulate powerful corporations, or raise wages for workers. We have done it before.
So this is actually pretty key because what he said is right. You have so many fucking economists now that's worried about infinite growth, the fucking making sure that people are, make sure that, dividends and, stocks, the value that the stock market is going up is so high, but it's not being translated to fucking regular Main Street. But people on Wall Street are happy, but Main Street is suffering still. You have so much inequity when it comes to just people living day by day. What's actually fucking you actually have so much inequality when it comes to wealth that the fact of the skew is being skewed even more towards the wealthy. But let's continue.
But neoliberal economists would warn that all of these policies would be a terrible mistake because raising taxes always kills economic growth. And any form of government regulation is inefficient, and raising wages always kills jobs. Well, as a consequence of that thinking, over the last 30 years in the USA alone, the top 1% has grown $21 trillion richer, while the bottom 50% have grown $900 billion poorer, a pattern of widening inequality that has largely repeated itself across the world. And yet, as middle-class families struggle to get by on wages that have not budged in about 4 and yet,
I'm sorry,
21 trillion wages always kills jobs.
I want to actually just hear that shit again. So, if you actually just heard the shit that he just said, listen to the staggering numbers that you actually get, that you've actually heard. So, let's listen to that again.
Well, as a consequence of that thinking, over the last 30 years in the USA alone, the top 1% has grown $21 trillion richer, while the bottom 50% have grown $900 billion poorer, a pattern of widening inequality.
The people on the top have grown by 21 trillion dollars. Not billion. Trillion dollars over the last fucking 30 years. And everybody else has gone down by roughly $900 billion. What fucking society do we fucking live in? Where we have this shit, where people are so fucking disconnected with everything that's fucking happening that people are getting away with so much horrible inequality. And people are laughing about it. Oh, you're just owning the libs. But you're allowing your shit to be... You're allowed to be pissed in the face and saying it's a golden shower. And not the good kind. But let's continue.
That has largely repeated itself across the world. And yet, as middle-class families struggle to get by on wages that have not budged in about 40 years, neoliberal economists continue to warn that the only reasonable response to the painful dislocations of austerity and globalization is even more austerity and globalization. So, what is a society to do? Well, it's super clear to me what we need to do. We need a new economics. So, economics has been described as the dismal science, and for good reason, because as much as it is taught today, it isn't a science at all, in spite of all of the dazzling mathematics. In fact, a growing number of academics and practitioners have concluded that neoliberal economic theory is dangerously wrong, and that today's growing crises of rising inequality and growing political instability are the direct result of decades of bad economic theory. What we now know is that the economics that made me so rich isn't just wrong, it's backwards.
So, let's just listen to that. Like, literally, because of everything that's going on in what we perceive as economics, we have literally turned the world on its head, where people have actually lost so much fucking money as a result that left is right, down is up. And I'm not just talking about my yarn controls from playing the motherfucking game, but it has hurt so many fucking people. Because well, corporations need to make money, right? They changed this game. I think I just need to start over. But let's continue.
Because it turns out it isn't capital that creates economic growth, it's people. And it isn't self-interest that promotes the public good, it's reciprocity. And it isn't competition that produces our prosperity, it's cooperation. What we can now see is that an economics that is neither just nor inclusive can never sustain the high levels of social cooperation necessary to enable a modern society to thrive.
So, literally, what he just said was, it's not corporations that make money. It's fucking people that make, that actually increase wealth, that increase prosperity. It's not having one rich or 5 rich oligarchs that create all the jobs. It's the people that need to spend the money to actually buy those goods and services that create fucking jobs. It's at a point where it's just like, there are so many fucking people that are speaking out about it. And you know what? That reminds me. This shit right here, it reminds me. I fucking shared a Facebook article on my fucking personal Facebook channel Facebook page, where there is someone in the Betsy DeVos Department of Education that was like, fuck it, I quit, and we should cancel more student debt than what fucking Elizabeth Warren wants to cancel. It doesn't make any motherfucking sense. And he's a fucking Republican. He was like, fuck it, I'm out this bitch. I'm out. I am done. Because what we're doing is fucking crazy. It's fucking insane. And it's about time motherfuckers need to know about it. Partially, the reason why they should cancel the motherfucking student loan debt, because you get motherfuckers that can't afford to pay them. But it makes no fucking sense when you're holding some perceived power over people's head that is literally fucking oppressive just because you want to hold on to power. Now, I would always stick by Haplin's razor. Never attribute to malice what can easily be attributed to stupidity, and what I also add, greed or cowardice. But let's continue.
So, where did we go wrong? Well, it turns out that it's become painfully obvious that the fundamental assumptions that undergird neoliberal economic theory are just objectively false. And so today, first, I want to take you through some of those mistaken assumptions, and then after, describe where the science suggests prosperity actually comes from. So, neoliberal economic assumption number one is that the market is an efficient equilibrium system, which basically means that if one thing in the economy, like wages, goes up, another thing in the economy, like jobs, must go down.
So before he gets to this, before he even gets to this part, I'm going to actually say this. If you have more people that are able, not just willing, able to spend more money, guess what happens? They spend more money. That old adage where you see people is like, what is something that better than God, or that's gooder than God, more evil than the devil? Poor people have it. Rich people don't. And it's nothing. Now, the thing about it is, when you're not able to make enough ends meet where you're able to, have security to say that, hey, maybe, just maybe, I won't have to be so, worried or hesitant or anxious about shit all the time. Like we were saying with the last video we watched tonight, maybe shit will feel better. Maybe if we look out for everyone in a group thing, maybe, just maybe, things would be fucking better for everyone. We wouldn't have such instances of depression or isolation. Maybe, but let's continue.
So, for example, in Seattle, where I live,
that shit looks awesome.
When in 2014 we passed our nation's first $15 minimum wage.
Oh, so let's make this point, and I'm sorry, I didn't. Let's address this point. So there was I guess the ship is talking to me. But there was a belief, there is a belief that if you have to increase wages, if you have to pay people more, that shit looks awesome. I'm sorry, I'm getting lost in the way this looks. Then jobs will necessarily have to go down. And you know what? And I would agree with them to a point. I would agree that if you actually increase wages for people, you know what would happen in some cases? Some people would actually not work as many jobs because they're getting all they need from one job. But it's never from the place of the employer needing to cut jobs. It's always from the place of employees not needing to toil as much to actually fucking make it. And people say, oh, look, people are getting lazy. They're not working as many jobs. Versus, oh, look, people don't have to work as many jobs, so they're not as stressed. And more people are spending more money because they never actually say that. They never actually say that. They never say, well, people are not working as much, but there is more money in an economy that's being spent. That's you never hear that part of the explanation. Because they say, oh, people just don't want to have any more jobs, and they take it as people aren't working and they're being lazy, and then you think, oh, then they don't have anything to do. So let's continue.
The neoliberals freaked out over their precious equilibrium. If you raise the price of labor, they warned, businesses will purchase less of it. Thousands of low-wage workers will lose their jobs, the restaurants will close, except they didn't. The unemployment rate fell dramatically. The restaurant business in Seattle boomed. Why? Because there is no equilibrium. Because raising wages doesn't kill jobs, it creates them. Because, for instance, when restaurant owners are suddenly required to pay restaurant workers enough so that now even they can afford to eat in restaurants.
They can afford to eat in restaurants. That's like given. Like, oh wow, you work here, but you shouldn't be able to eat here. Go back to your hobble, peasant. Like, that's the literal sense that a lot of places actually seem to actually want from their employees. This is for the better people. This is for the good people. And even though you work here, you're not good enough to fucking eat here. And when you pay people, guess what? Guess what happens? Guess what happens? They actually spend money. You know what? You know what happens when you pay somebody who's rich and they don't need to have... When you give people who's rich and they have money and they don't need to buy a lot of shit, they don't buy a lot of shit. What? No. It's almost as if Keynesian economics is a real fucking thing. But I digress, you know. Let's continue.
It doesn't shrink the restaurant business, it grows it, obviously. Thank you. Thank you. The second assumption is that the price of something is always equal to its value, which basically means that if you earn $50,000 a year and I earn $50 million.
So this actually harkens back to the previous video that we watched, where we have this thing that we're taught that you should always be chasing your own self-value from how much money you make. We are literally taught this toxic thing where it's just like, if you if you're only making this amount of money, then your self-value is low. And hey, Jill, do me a favor. Answer me this question. If your God was so perfect, why did he have a plan in place that allowed for suicide to be a thing? When you can answer that question, if his controls were so, if he was so perfect that he was able to, you know, his plan was dependent on human beings not fucking things up, how perfect is your God? But let me get back to it.
$1 a year. That's because I produce 1,000 times as much value as you. Now, it will not surprise you to learn that this is a very comforting assumption if you're a CEO paying yourself $50 million a year, but paying your workers poverty wages. But please, take it from somebody who's run dozens of businesses. This is nonsense. People are not paid what they are worth. They are paid what they have the power to negotiate. And wages falling share of GDP is not because workers have become less productive, but because employers have become more powerful.
So here's the thing about shit like that, right? And you actually get it. You actually find out that with the inclusion of money in politics, you actually see what happened. You saw the destructions of the fucking unions, where the only real strong union that you actually see is a fucking police union. And I wonder why the police union is strong, because they help the rich people motherfucking protect their money. Right? So, we also get this thing where shit. Come on. Slow down. Slow down. Slow down. We actually get it where the rich have their money protected by a strong fucking police union. And come on, scan, damn it. So, yeah. And fuck. But when now, and I made it a point before where you actually see workers are standing together. You are seeing workers are actually making sure that they're able to bargain together. They're able to motherfucking make sure that they're able to have more power together and are getting better wages, better working conditions. But for a while, that was going on the decline instead of the strong things that we're seeing now. And it's fucking awesome that we're getting power back as a worker. But let's continue.
And by pretending that the giant imbalance in power between capital and labor doesn't exist, neoliberal economic theory became essentially a protection racket for the rich. The third assumption, and by far the most pernicious, is a behavioral model that describes human beings as something called Homo economicus, which basically means that we are all perfectly selfish, perfectly rational, and relentlessly self-maximizing.
Wait. Human beings are perfectly selfish. No. Fuck no. I don't put much stock into fucking human beings. I don't. I fucking feel humans are selfish creatures. But for me, I never think people are unduly selfish because, kind of want to make sure that they keep on fucking living. They kind of want to make sure that there is a will to fucking live. And human beings are not perfectly selfish. We're definitely not perfectly logical. And we're definitely not perfectly maximizing. But let's continue.
But just ask yourselves, is it plausible that every single time for your entire life, when you did something nice for somebody else, all you were doing was maximizing your own utility? Is it plausible that when a soldier jumps on a grenade to defend fellow soldiers, they're just promoting their narrow self-interest? If you think that's nuts, contrary to any reasonable moral intuition, that's because it is, and according to the latest science, not true. But
So, I am the last one, because I'm supremely utilitarian. Fucking completely. And yes, I do find some truth, that's the best way I can describe it, in saying that, yeah, human beings do things for their own self-interest, especially when it comes to making sure that a group is taken care of. And there are certain things of self-sacrifice. I personally do nice shit for people because, to me, I don't like seeing human suffering. It doesn't directly benefit me in other ways other than not seeing human suffering. But the food that I feed you because you hungry don't make me shit. Who you fuck don't make me come. Trying to take me down, but it can't be done. I fucking gotta listen to that J. Cole album. But anyway, it's more a sense of I want people to be better. You see people self-sacrifice for others. He used the instance of a grenade, but how many people have ran into battle protecting their friends, knowing that they're gonna die, but they wanted their friends to be protected? This shit happens. Not because of some scientific formula where we're just trying to be selfish and we're trying to fucking make sure that we maximize everything. Because you don't get no benefits from shit when you're dead. But let's continue.
But it is this behavioral model, which is at the cold, cruel heart of neoliberal economics, and it is as morally corrosive as it is scientifically wrong. Because if we accept at face value that humans are fundamentally selfish, and then we look around the world at all of the unambiguous prosperity in it, then it follows logically. Then it must be true by definition that billions of individual acts of selfishness magically transubstantiate into prosperity and the common good. If we humans are merely selfish maximizers, then selfishness is the cause of our prosperity. Under this economic logic, greed is good. Widening inequality is efficient, and the only purpose of the corporation can be to enrich shareholders, because to do otherwise would be to slow economic growth and harm the economy overall. And it is this gospel of selfishness which forms the ideological cornerstone of neoliberal economics, a way of thinking which has produced economic policies.
So, remember Gordon Gekko's greed is good? The fact of the matter is, it's not good for the people who you're taking from. And I'm fucking sorry. What sickens me to my stomach, and yes, I know it's a lot of stomach to be sickened to, is that people just accept this shit hook, line, and sinker because they are literally they're literally praising something that would hurt them in the end. And it's just like, oh my fucking God. Greed is not good. When you're when you're willing to fucking step on somebody to be towards the top, that's not good. That's just giving a justification for being a shitty person. And you know what? You know what that leads to? That justification when somebody does it to you. And you're more willing to accept it because that's what you did to succeed. And I'm not okay with that. I work in a call center. And to be honest with you, I see this shit play out from the top of the quote unquote top of the chain to the people who just answer the phones. And I've literally heard the saying, well, I gotta make my money too. And regardless of if you're following procedure, if shit seems unethical to you and your only recourse is to say, well, I'm doing this because they say that I can actually do it, I'm not breaking any of the rules, and I have to get my money too, that's a wrong idea, a wrong belief, a wrong fucking way of looking at things. And if you're at that stage, maybe it's time for you to reevaluate why you're doing something. Maybe it's time for you to evaluate that you have to do something that's barely on the edge of a rule in order to make ends meet. And maybe that's not something that you need to do. Would you rather struggle with, some insecurities, financial insecurities? Or would you rather actually do the things that makes you uncomfortable and say, well, I had to because it was either them or me. But let's continue.
Which have enabled me and my rich buddies in the top 1% to grab virtually all of the benefits of growth over the last 40 years. But if instead we accept the latest empirical research, real science, which correctly describes human beings as highly cooperative, reciprocal, and intuitively moral creatures, then it follows logically that it must be cooperation and not selfishness that is the cause of our prosperity. And it isn't our self-interest, but rather our inherent reciprocity that is humanity's
Wow. So, one of the things that when you actually look at the way human beings operate, and you actually see that, well, is it how is it that we've made it this far as a society? What is it that have caused us to actually go from simians on the plains of Africa to taking over the world? It was us working together. And I'm sorry. What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to actually, like, all of a sudden, now we should stand alone and be our own independent people? This goes back to that conversation, the video that we were having, that we were doing before, where we're just like, it's not only unhealthy for our mental effect is fucking unhealthy for our society. And we're just dealing with this shit because somebody sold you a pipe dream that scarcity when it comes to money is a real thing. But let's continue.
Economic superpower. So, at the heart of this new economics is a story about ourselves that grants us permission to be our best selves. And unlike the old economics, this is a story that is virtuous and also has the virtue of being true. Now, I want to emphasize that this new economics is not something I have personally imagined or invented. Its theories and models are being developed and refined in universities around the world, building on some of the best new research in economics, complexity theory, evolutionary theory, psychology, anthropology, and other disciplines. And although this new economics does not yet have its own textbook or even a commonly agreed upon name, in broad strokes, its explanation of where prosperity comes from goes something like this.
I bet it's Keynesian economics or Keynesian economics. John Maynard Keynes. If you ever actually look him up, he's actually a very interesting figure. Very interesting figure. But, let's continue.
So, market capitalism is an evolutionary system in which prosperity emerges through a positive feedback loop between increasing amounts of innovation and increasing amounts of consumer demand. Innovation is the process by which we solve human problems. Consumer demand is the mechanism through which the market selects for useful innovations. And as we solve more problems, we become more prosperous. But as we become more prosperous, our problems and solutions become more complex. And this increasing technical complexity requires ever higher levels of social and economic cooperation in order to produce the more highly specialized products that define a modern economy. Now, the old economics is correct, of course, that competition plays a crucial role in how markets work, but what it fails to...
So, from what he described was this. When we work together, there is... We solve problems. But the bigger the problem is, the more that we have to work together, and we have better solutions. And when we have better solutions, we discover more problems, and it's a so on and so on cycle. Here's the thing. He also mentioned you give more resources to consumers to actually resolve. That's Keynesian economics. Now, maybe he's looking for a neo-Keynesian economics. So, maybe that's it. But let's continue.
to see is it is largely a competition between highly cooperative groups, competition between firms, competition between networks of firms, competition between nations. And anyone who's ever run a successful business knows that building a cooperative team by including the talents of everyone is almost always a better strategy than just a bunch of selfish jerks. So, how do we leave neoliberalism behind and build a more sustainable, more prosperous, and more equitable society? The new economics suggests just 5 rules of thumb. First is that successful economies are not jungles, they're gardens.
Where do we hear gardens from? Now, he's going to make the point that where, yes, we need to have more cultivated economies. Things just can't run wild. But let's continue.
which is to say that markets, like gardens, must be tended. That the market is the greatest social technology ever invented for solving human problems, but unconstrained by social norms or democratic regulation, markets inevitably create more problems than they solve. Climate change, the great financial crisis of 2008 are two easy examples. The second rule is that inclusion creates economic growth. So the neoliberal idea that inclusion is this fancy luxury to be afforded if and when we have growth is both wrong and backwards. The economy...
So that's actually a key thing, because what he's actually saying is that what a lot of people, a lot of the neoliberal stuff is actually saying that, hey, we need to have growth. If we have growth, then we can actually share in the prosperity. Where, no, dog, that's not what the problem is. The problem is that you can only have prosperity when you share different wealth among the people. And again, this is not coming from a place where, ooh, what the scary communism. No. Quite literally, we can change capitalism right now by saying, stop screwing over poor people. We can change shit right now. We have the ability right now. But, you know, people want to actually keep their sense of superiority above other motherfuckers. But let's continue.
is people. Including more people in more ways is what causes economic growth in market economies. The third principle is the purpose of the corporation is not merely to enrich shareholders. The greatest grift in contemporary economic life is the neoliberal idea that the only purpose of the corporation and the only responsibility of executives is to enrich themselves and shareholders. The new economics must and can insist that the purpose of the corporation is to improve the welfare of all stakeholders, customers, workers, community, and shareholders alike. Rule 4.
So, and let me just pause this for a second. What he is saying that stop looking at profits to shareholders as a way of judging the health of a fucking company. Stop. Because that would only focus you on it. You know what? He looks like, in some small amount, his hairstyle looked like Reggie Fils-Aimé. And if you don't know who Reggie Fils-Aimé is, he was the former president of Pizza Hut, and I'm getting tired. Also, an executive at Nintendo where they was like, fuck, like, and Nintendo, like, this is awesome because, like, that's why I want to bring, this is why it caught my attention. Nintendo's always about the, if executives have to take pay cuts to make sure the workers get taken care of, cool. That's why we have the fucking Switch, and it was fucking awesome. Social responsibility is not only the purview of the fucking government. It's the purview of every fucking corporation. And we're not just talking about some fucking lame excuse of, well, I'm going to offer inclusion with, you know, social programs, as far as I'm not going to say you're crap because I want your money. So I'm going to be okay with every expression that somebody wants when it comes to getting money. No, that's nah, dog. We're not going to go that way. We're not going to share that much. We're going to share something, but not that much. You know what I'm saying? So, let's continue.
greed is not good. Being rapacious doesn't make you a capitalist. It makes you a sociopath.
Oh God, that's just awesome right there, because he said it. Greed is not, and in fucking in that fucking movie, Gordon Gekko wasn't a fucking good guy. He wasn't. He was a bad guy, and he went to jail for this shit. He did actually go to jail in what is that? Money Talk? Not Money Talk. Was it Money Talks? Wall Street. Yeah, Wall Street. He went to fucking jail because he did bad shit. And God damn it. Why do people forget that shit from that movie? That's what fucking happened. People forget that shit from that movie. But let's continue.
And in an economy as dependent upon cooperation at scale as ours, sociopathy is as bad for business as it is for society. And fifth and finally, unlike the laws of physics, the laws of economics are a choice. Now, neoliberal economic theory has sold itself to you as unchanged.
So that's actually very interesting. I'm going to tell people this, and I know it may seem crazy, but money is fucking made up. Monetary policy is a fucking made up policy. There are certain rules that govern motherfucking life. The laws of thermodynamics. The laws and principles of evolution. The laws and principles of gravity. Gravity, you fucking moron. Gravity. I'm sorry, I just said it too. But economics is whatever we choose it to be. Social status is whatever we fucking choose it to be. The concept of race is whatever we choose it to motherfucking be. Guess what? Guess what? This shit is made up because we made it up. That's it. The reason why that there's so much inequality is because we choose for neoliberalism to fucking be a principle that we follow. Doesn't have to be. But let's let this video continue because it's getting late.
Changeable, natural law, when in fact, it's social norms and constructed narratives based on pseudoscience. If we truly want a more equitable, more prosperous, and more sustainable economy, if we want high-functioning democracies and civil society, we must have a new economics. And here's the good news. If we want a new economics, all we have to do is choose to have it. Thank you.
All right. So this is going to be fun right now. Like, you're going to hear it and all right. Let's go. Let's listen to this stupid ass question.
Thank you.
So Nick, I'm sure you get this question a lot. If you're so unhappy with the economic system, why not just give all your money away and join the 99%?
Yeah, no, yes, right. You get that a lot. You get that a lot.
Not
If
the
you
first
care
time.
so much about taxes, why don't you pay more? And if you care so much about wages, why don't you pay more? And I could do that. The problem is, it doesn't make that much difference. And I have discovered a strategy that works literally 100,000 times better,
Okay.
which is to use my money to build narratives and to pass laws that require all the other rich people to pay taxes and pay their workers better. And that, and so, you know, for example, the $15 minimum wage that we cooked up has now affected 30 million workers. So that works
great.
better.
That's great.
So.
If you change your mind, we'll find some takers for you.
So, and this is a key thing. This is what fucking is a key thing. The shit that he's doing about preaching towards using my money to actually change policy, that is not fucking new. That's how we got into the situation in the first place. Because rich motherfuckers are using their money to fucking get the system that we have now. So, he spends his money figuratively fashioning a grenade, and it cost him. I'm sure he has he gets dirty looks from his fellow plutocrats and oligarchs. It's like, yeah, here's the grenade. And you know what? This shit is working. He was one of the people that helped speak towards that $15 an hour minimum wage in Seattle. And look how many people that's helped. So, what did we go over today? And I'm fucking tired, so it's time to wrap this shit up. One, that our system that we have is basically causing us to feel isolated, lonely, and depressed in a majority of cases. There are some cases that brain chemistry that fucking helps. But how do we solve that? By working together. And, you know, maybe we shouldn't be scared to critique capitalism. I know I do all the time. Because fuck capitalism. But anyway, guys, I want to thank everybody who's watched. Please enjoy your day. And thank you. Please like, follow, and subscribe. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Peace.